to Dave C, straight from the pit. Dave C here. For today's show, we're going to talk about the 1984 G.I. Joe SHARC. Released in 1984 and discontinued by 1985. The SHARC is kind of a smaller vehicle, in my opinion. But for the $10 price point it was sold at back then, kind of makes sense. For example, here's the size of the Killer Whale compared to the SHARC. A much larger vehicle, obviously. But this little vehicle was very popular in the Sunbow animated series and in the Marvel G.I. Joe run. Here's a closer look at it. You can see it's got the SHARC logo, a shark with wings on it. Military star on there, G.I. Joe lettering down the side. Helps to set it off. No step on the sides. There's the air intakes, or water intakes, or whatever you want to call it for this thing, because it's a kind of a different type of vehicle that can go underwater and in the air. Same logo on the other side. Number of kills on the canopy, which is an Air Force type thing, which is really cool to have on a G.I. Joe toy, always. And it looks pretty neat from the front. Pretty aerodynamic and futuristic. There's the back side of it, with the fins on the back. And up underneath. I'll get to that in a second, what those little pegs are for. I'm sure you guys already know. This thing has been reviewed a million times online, and all you guys already know about it, but it's just fun to watch another review on it, isn't it? I know I always like watching reviews on things, especially someone else's take on it, another Joe collector's take on it, and today you're going to get mine on this vehicle. Yeah, I like this, always as a kid. These fins, kind of neat. Gives it that model type approach to it, as well as the engine cover that's removable. Peel it off here, we can get a better look. There's the engine of the SHARC there. And I just really like the detailing on the SHARC as well, all around it. So yeah, $10.99 back then, but you're getting a lot of playability with this set. The guns that flip up, kind of like an old Camaro or Trans Am from the 80s, or the old IROCs that you guys might remember, with the headlights. And all you do for that is you push this forward, which is kind of like a latch, and then they pop up. So there you go. And they were called 30mm pop-up tidal wave machine guns, or cannons. I prefer to call them machine guns because I like more real life type stuff than sci-fi sometimes. And of course on the other side you do the same thing underneath and it pops up. A lot of times you see them at flea markets, and that feature is broken because kids would have opened and closed it so many times that the lever eventually breaks for it. And the other armaments for this are on the bottom, and there are two torpedoes. I don't have them on there now because I have them in this bag here that I didn't want to open, because the guy that I bought this off of shrink wrapped all the contents of the original SHARC into this bag, and I think that's pretty cool. So I'm just going to leave it as it is, because I do have a spare Deep Six. Anyway, the other weapons on this vehicle are these torpedoes here, and they're called Series 1 Acoustic Homing ASW Anti-Submarine Warfare Torpedoes. And they have rather large holes on them on the bottom, and they peg on the bottom here, both of them. And as you can see there, those look like figure peg holes for the backs of G.I. Joe figures. And in a previous video, I kind of showed you guys what that's for. You take a guy, like Torpedo here, and you can place him on the bottom of the vehicle. Just push him in, just like putting a backpack on a figure. And there's another spot here, but I find that if you have accessories on any figure that you put here, you kind of have to be careful, or else another figure won't fit. I have wetsuit here, 86 wetsuit, another aquatic guy, Navy SEAL type guy. But yeah, so there you can have both on there. So there you go. Another feature of this vehicle is this impact resistant gull wing canopy that opens from the side. And a lot of times when you find these for sale, these are broken here. The tabs break off quite easily, so I'm always careful with it when I open and close it. Or these tabs here as well on the side, they break off. We can take a better look inside here, and you can see there's a computer screen on the bottom there for the pilot. And in the back there, it says absolutely no access. And that little box there with what looks like maybe fuses or something like that, I always imagined as a kid that those are grenades, and Deep Six could chuck them out the window back then. But yeah, just tremendous detailing in there, as always for a lot of these 80s G.I. Joe vehicles. The tooling that went into these things is quite special, and why a lot of us appreciate them to this day. Another thing I was going to mention before I move on to Deep Six is this vehicle was built with foam inside of it, so it could float in the bathtub. And I played with it in my bathtub back in 1984 when I got it, along with Deep Six. And the big reason why kids liked Deep Six back then was that he came with this pump system that plugs onto his back, and you'd pump air into this figure and he would float, so he could be like a diver. You drop him in, and then you use this pump system here. You pump it a few times, and then Deep Six would float up to the surface. And I know a lot of other Joe collectors I talked to online about this figure and vehicle, they said that they played with it in pools where they lived. A lot of guys are from southern states, and of course down there there's tons of pools. Pretty much everybody has a pool in California and Florida and Texas and all that. And yeah, they have stories about playing with this one in the pool, and Cobra Water Moccasin was another one from 1984 that they played with in the water. I do remember putting the figure in there for the first time and finding it quite odd how there's no seats in there for Deep Six. And it is a bit tricky. You have to stick them in there like that, and then you can push them forward so you can look at the panel. But even then, it looks kind of, you know, awkward, like he's just looking straight down. But for the toy playability of the figure, they kind of had to do that, I think. Because in order for him to float to the surface, he'd have to be big and bulky like this. And here's a better look at Deep Six. He's all one piece, not like the other G.I. Joes with an O-ring. All one solid piece. Because of that feature, the floating feature. And back then I was kind of, what is this guy? Like when I saw him in the bubble, in the figure bubble, because he looked different. But later on I really appreciated it because it was a totally different aspect to it than just a regular figure. And I always liked that glass bubble canopy over his head. And it is a nice face sculpt. And I like the coloring of this figure as well. And I think it displays well on a shelf with all the 84 guys. Because he's just so different than any other G.I. Joe from that year. Or any G.I. Joe really, up until the 90s. I placed him in that bubble now, so you can see just what I was talking about when I was a kid. How you went in the store, and you saw this little description here of how you can play with it. And also Deep Six there, how he just looks different than, say, a regular G.I. Joe figure, like Cutter here. Just an O-ring type. And here it is in the pamphlet here that came with all the 1984 vehicles. And has some really nice artwork there explaining the features of this toy and figure. It says, pump the bellows to bring the G.I. Joe diver to the surface. In the air or at sea, the shark attacks the enemy. Here's a better look at the box. It says G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. It's got the 1982 to 1985 G.I. Joe font. This one's got a price sticker still on it from Kohl's. So if anybody out there knows about Kohl's, and if they ever went to that store in the 80s, you can leave a comment about it. I don't remember that store up here, but I bet you there's lots of Americans who remember that store. And you can see it was $8.99 back then. It says Flying Submarine, SHARC, Submersible, High-Speed Attack and Reconnaissance. So that's what it stands for, SHARC. And this beautiful Hector Grillo art. Pump bellows to make Deep Six submerge or surface. Includes G.I. Joe Diver Deep Six. Flying Submarine SHARC. The G.I. Joe Mobile Strike Force flying machine is based on the U.S. Army's top secret weapons systems. It's part of the new modern Army G.I. Joe collection of vehicles, weapons, figures, and accessories. Collect them all. Use the SHARC to help G.I. Joe defend democracy from the evil enemy of Cobra Command. And you can see there's the prototype of Deep Six. And he looks quite different from what we actually got. It looks like it's actually Grunt's face on there if you look closely. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it looks like Grunt or Grand Slam. You know how they used similar heads for the 82 guys. Well, it looks like they just stuck a Grunt head on there. Because if you look at this one, it's a different head sculpt. Totally a different Deep Six head than Grunt. So that's kind of interesting. And there's all the pump stuff showing with it. Removable engine cover. Rudder's pivot. Super realistic detail. SHARC floats. Most G.I. Joe figures can be transported on bottom of sub. Action levers elevate 2 cannons. Does not shoot. Sturdy construction for rugged play. Actual size when assembled. Snap together assembly. 2 removable torpedoes. Detailed blueprints inside explain fully how a real SHARC would operate. Add them to your G.I. Joe command file. And then it has all the contents of what it includes in the box, as well as your flag points there, so you can mail away for your Hooded Cobra Commander or Major Blood. My example has the file card on it, but it's been cut out, but somebody was nice enough to re-stick it on the back there. And I do have two versions of it. You can see that one there is the American one, because it only has English. And then here's the Canadian one that has French on it. So you can see the contrast there. And this is the one that I had as a kid. But I thought, because there's more information on this one, we could read this one. So it says SHARC Driver, codename Deep Six. File name, Malcolm R. Willoughby. Primary military specialty, diver. Secondary military specialty, small craft pilot motorized. Place of birth, Baltimore, Maryland. Grade, PO 2nd. Master driver's rating. Deep Six never won any awards for being friendly. Became a Navy diver so that I could be alone. Enjoys bottle cap collecting, solitaire, and New York Times crossword puzzles. Only 12 out of 50 Navy drivers passed the strict requirements for the coveted driver position on the G.I. Joe team. 8 washed out in the practical application testing. Of the 4 finalists, Deep Six could hold his breath the longest. Torpedo says, down in the depths where the light doesn't reach and the water pressure can crush you like an eggshell, that's where Deep Six likes it. In 1986's Order of Battle, Deep Six has a write-up, and here it is here. Pretty great Herb Trimpe art, as shown there. Pretty much says what it says on the file card, with a few other extras, I believe. Deep Six wasn't on the Sunbow animated series until 1985, when the first full season came out of episodes. He wasn't on the 1984 5-parter Revenge of Cobra, which I found odd back then, because he was such a popular toy at the time. But his first appearance, as far as the Marvel book goes, is number 25, and that's in this panel here, where Cutter is saying, "The choppers are away, Deep Six. Stand by to launch the SHARC." And he says, "Ready when you are, Cutter." And the battle scene that ensues, he's against the water moccasin. And it kind of shows how he's kind of like a arrogant kind of guy, just putting his leg up as he's flying. And then, well, Bill asks him if he wants any help. And he's like, "No, I got this." And then he does some really nifty maneuvering here, flying underneath the water there, coming up the other side, and then blowing the crap out of Firefly's water moccasin. And then later, when he comes back on the Joe boat, well, Bill goes out to congratulate him on the flying, but then Deep Six kind of just walks by him and doesn't say anything, like he's arrogant. And then, well, Bill wants to teach him a lesson. So the first time that he's shown in a comic, you can see that he's kind of but he is one hell of a pilot. And very courageous, as shown in issue 27 here, where he's on the hovercraft and Destro's coming down with a rattler. And Deep Six gets shot while manning one of the machine guns with Roadblock. And he heroically keeps fighting, even though he's hit. And he says to Roadblock, "It's just too heavy. I can't lift it up." Then Roadblock helps him and puts the machine gun on his back. It's a big, heavy machine gun. Deep Six lets it rip and blows up the Rattler. And Destro has to eject. But thankfully, Deep Six survived, and he's okay. And he continues to be in Larry Hama's continuation of A Real American Hero. And I just got this book. Came out this month. Number 325. So it marks the 325th G.I. Joe comic. written by Larry. And there is one thing I want to show from a comic a couple of months ago, number 323. I was talking to one of the guys that subscribes to me on the channel. His name's Johnny. And he was saying how he really enjoys the comic too, like I do. And he was particularly talking about Stalker and then about Zartan, and how he really likes Zartan, how he's written in the comic. So I thought I would show this because I was really impressed when I read this. This is one of the latest comics, as I stated, and it has the Dreadnoks in a bar, and they're getting together to talk about their next mission with Zartan. And then these bikers come in, and they want to start a fight with the Dreadnoks, which I don't think is a very good idea, but I don't think they know who these guys are necessarily. And then Zartan, he just does what he would always do. He just starts to kick ass. He turns into this scary ass clown, and he starts pounding on these bikers. And I just really liked reading that because it's written just like it would have been back in 1985 or 86. Yeah, along with the violence. Just great how it's written in these books still.